everybody, and welcome to our glorious speed round style of podcast. This is
It.
Yeah, We Read It. This is a special episode. We're interviewing the author of this book that we're reading, or that we read, past tense, First Love Language by Stefany Valentine. My name's Laura.
My name's Maggie.
And let's freaking do
And
it.
that's
First love, that's it. Let's freaking do it. First love language, get this. Our protagonist, Catie, she's adopted. Her parents are divorced. Her dad is dead. And she has to move to California with her adoptive mom and her half-sister, Mavis.
She's actually in California right now. She is moving
She has to move to Utah, yeah.
You said she's moving to California.
Oh, she has to move to Utah, so sorry.
Readers, listen.
Whoa, it's a speed round. We can't dawdle on this, Maggie.
You're right, okay. So she is moving to Utah. They are going to move in with her adopted mom, sister, Joanna. It's a super Mormon home, okay. So they are just freaking getting on up there. Her dad had divorced her birth mom, Ya Fang, way before he died 2 years ago. There was some beef there. We're not really sure. They do stop by his grave to say goodbye before they head to Aunt Joanna's. Joanna does want them to be religious again.
Yeah.
She's like, be a Mormon in Utah.
Yeah, so they get to Utah. We're speed rounding. And Aunt Joanna, she's got a whole bunch of rules. Like, she even doesn't let Mavis wear a crop top or like a tank top. I forget which one it is because of the dress code that she has. We also have this cousin Rayleigh, who is one of Aunt Joanna and Uncle Nick's 5 children. And we don't really understand the vibe of Rayleigh at first. We're like, is she kind of a narc? Is she kind of prissy? So we're TBD on what her whole deal is.
I do love her approach to trying to get an in with Mavis and Catie, though, which is basically dropping to her knees and going, pretty please, 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 can I be your friend?
Literally,
that's so relatable.
It works every time, actually. If somebody begged to be my friend, I'd be like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you don't gotta beg. So that is Rayleigh's whole thing. Meanwhile, Mavis and Catie are going to have to find some jobs because they're going to have to make money. It's what I assume is kind of the summer. So Catie finds an East Asian hair salon that she really likes. She's like, I can apply here. That'll be great. I got a little bit of smidgen of community amidst Mormon Utah. When she walks in, Toby, son of the owner, spills a ton of magenta hair dye on her. So, okay, meet cute.
And it's important to emphasize here that Toby is really attractive. Not conventionally attractive, the other type of attractive. The one that you're like, whoa, you're so different. You're so hot. He has like purple hair.
He's got beautiful
biracial.
Skin.
He's studying.
No pores.
Yeah, he's studying languages at the University of Taipei. You're like, okay, he's hot and he's smart and he knows how to do hair. That's awesome.
And he is Korean. He does clock that though she is Taiwanese, she doesn't speak Mandarin. And he's like, perfect. Well, guess what? I can teach you for $45 an hour. And she does not necessarily have an income that could afford that yet. So she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's pump the brakes there, buddy.
But luckily for Catie, this really pretty girl Nicole's gonna walk in, and she went to high school with Toby, and Toby's a blubbering fool around Nicole. And Catie has also told one of the older clients that she has a boyfriend. So Toby's like, what if, in exchange for Mandarin lessons, you take all of your boyfriend experience, teach me how to boyfriend, and now we help each other out? And Katie's like, should I be honest and tell him I was just telling that creepy guy that I was lying about having a boyfriend? She goes, she's in. She's going to learn the language.
Toby gives Catie the Rayleigh treatment of just dropping to his knees and going, oh, please, 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 please,
yeah.
Can you coach me on how to date?
It works every time. If somebody came up to me and begged me to teach them how to date, I would do it.
And in exchange, he is going to teach her Mandarin for free. She does feel a little bit conflicted about the fact that she is lying about dating. But listen, she's going to take anything she can get to...
To be fair, it wasn't her idea.
No, that's true.
It was Toby's idea.
She figures, whatever, slay, I gotta connect to my roots, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take love on
that. And Katie's like, dating. How do I teach someone how to date, which I do not know how to do? She finds her dad's book on the 5 love languages that he has updated to his liking to be a little less offensive. And she finds a really sweet note inside. This was a really well-written part of the book. I won't get too much into it because you have to read the book yourself. And Katie's like, 5 love languages. That's going to be my curriculum. Love it. So now they're kind of in this alternating phase where Toby's going to talk a little bit language to Catie, and Katie's going to plan a little bit of a love language style date for them to go on.
I do love him talking about languages. I found that a very fascinating part. He does talk about how Taiwanese Mandarin was influenced by different regions, imperialism, as we know. There's a little bit of Japanese in there, how that influenced language. His favorite is traditional, which isn't as simplified as Chinese language, which they simplified, I think, in the 40s to
Mhm.
do better on literacy tests. And now she's also like, I mean, damn, should I go to college in Taiwan? Like, he's learning
Honestly,
so much shit.
I love this look for Catie. She is daydreaming and daydreaming big. Um,
Mhm.
Catie has to kind of improv the first love language date because Toby just kind of was like, "Great, I did my lesson. Where's yours?" And she's like, "Totally, I have it planned," which is hilarious. And she decides that they're going to do an acts of service date where they're going to cook each other dinner and like a little competition. Very, very cute. We meet Toby's cat, Mr. Munchkin, a
Oh,
great
love.
addition to the story, I might add. And they're gonna like cook a little meal and watch a little Taiwanese drama and have a little
Yeah.
fun. And it's really cute. They're just hanging out being buds.
He's gonna ominously say he understands pain. No elaboration.
Don't you love when a guy is just ominous about his feelings but won't divert anymore?
Toby is manic pixie dream girl. Absolutely. And we need that. What would
Well,
we
in a
what would
way, I think Toby has a little more depth than a manic pixie dream girl.
No, I know, I know. I feel like saying like I understand pain would be something I would do on a first date, and I embody
Yeah.
manic pixie dream girl. I don't know what boy
And then
manic
Toby would
pixie
be
dream
like,
girl would
sometimes
be.
when I feel this way, I just go outside in the rain just to feel something. That would be manic pixie dream girl.
Okay, Meg. So Toby is Meg coded. Um, so she does feel a little bit again upset. She's like, should I tell him that I don't have a boyfriend? But she's not going to do that. She does
No,
tell
no,
her
no.
mom about the Mandarin. Her mom asks, "Hey, Catie, could you maybe introduce Mavis around? She's feeling down from all this rejection, because she hasn't gotten a job. She doesn't really have friends yet, and no really community."
Yeah. Katie's going to try and connect with her cousin Rayleigh also throughout this book. She's going to do Rayleigh's makeup before church one fine Sunday. It does not work out because Aunt Joanna
Her
walks
mom
in
calls
and
her
is
a
like,
whore.
yeah, it does not work out. But Katie, instead of taking it all off in an act of defiance, she's just going to do a little bit of makeup and it works out
Blending.
well. But we also learned that this church has a genealogy office. We will also learn that that is a normal thing in the Mormon church. So Katie
Mhm.
goes off to the receptionist, who is also adopted, and starts to find records of her mom, Yafang, on this website, which is really cool.
She realizes she was raised Buddhist, so when she goes home, she meditates with Mavis. Mavis admits that she kind of misses being in an unapologetically gay place because that is also happening side by side in tandem. And then their uncle walks in and yells at them for meditating. He's like, "Okay, witches."
Literally,
Okay,
like
it's a
literally, he
literally
calls
giving
it
witches.
literally. That's not even an exaggeration. He
No,
literally
he
calls them
does.
witches. It's hilarious. Toby's gonna give his next lesson pronouns, love, and this is gonna turn into Katie's next lesson, gift giving, also love. Where they're gonna try and buy each other some little gifts. Toby's gift is food, a great gift.
Oh,
Um,
great.
they also have a little moment here because they see Aunt Joanna at the food court in line for Chick-fil-A, and she's going to kind of escape to try to avoid her. And Toby and her kind of vent to each other about family, and we learned that Toby's lost his brother previously.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hug in the photo booth. Wow, Katie's heart is fluttering. And she does run into Rayleigh at 2 a.m. walking around. Seems like she's got
Woo!
a secret too.
Okay, Rayleigh.
I know. The
With
next
your
day,
secrets?
okay, secret walker around her at 2
Shh,
a.m.,
secret,
pacing the
secret.
halls like a ghost. Speaking of ghosts, actually, great segue. Katie goes back to the genealogy office to look at her ancestry and finds out her mom is dead.
So much grief to have
That's
to
really
deal with
sad.
that. Like, could you imagine the excitement of like, I found something on this person I think about so often,
Well,
and
now
then
you
they're
have
just
no
gone?
actual biological family?
Ah,
Ah.
yeah. So Katie does vent to Mavis, which is great to talk about your feelings with someone close to you. Mavis also talks to Katie about her biological dad, a little bit less similar to Katie. Mavis's biological dad, it was just a guy her mom dated and is no longer in the picture.
So they meditate a bit in Rayleigh's room. Katie's like, I'm gonna go to a party. And she goes and runs this party that Toby's hosting, has invited her to, runs into Nicole and Nicole's friend Ginny. She's really trying to woman Toby in this moment. Nicole's got this like image of him as a geeky middle schooler that she can't
Katie's
really.
going, please, 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 you gotta date Toby. I need to learn this Mandarin. Which
And
works every time. If
which
someone
works
got on their
every
knees and begged
time.
me to date someone, I would.
I would. It's 10 out of 10, foolproof. Every dentist approves. She does seem to actually come around. So yeah, again, like Laura says, this technique does work.
It seems to work.
Please, please.
And also, okay, we got some bad news because the whole plan this whole time was the fam. We're gonna go back to California at the end of the summer. No, no, no. Mom got a job at Utah State University. I don't know if that's the actual name of the college. My mom got a job at a university in Utah. We're not going back to San Diego. Yeesh.
And now Catie has a little bit of a conundrum here. She's like, should I tell Toby since I could technically date him now? And we did have a little bit of a moment at the party over ping pong. No, cup pong. No, God, beer pong.
There's too many drinking games. But before Catie can really think about like, ooh, should I tell Jimmy? Should I tell Toby about this whole Jimmy thing I'm lying about? Mavis, who is now befriending Toby's friends, is gonna corner
Drama.
Catie and be like, did you tell everybody you're dating Jimmy? And Katie's like, oh no, oop, eep, op, oop. She is bad.
Yep.
She's not doing great.
And so Mavis is like, okay, clearly your reaction is telling me that you are feeling guilty because you're in love with Toby. And Katie's like, no time. I gotta go sit with Toby alone at this movie. They're like gonna go to the last row. They're just gonna hang out. That was his pitch. Clearly
But
there's
wrench,
something
wrench
there.
in the plan. Nicola has started DMing Toby because Katie's wing womaning did work.
Good for her.
And Catie is like now at like a point like, okay, now that another girl's in the picture, I really have to come clean. And they're in his room one night. They're so close to kissing, and she's gonna tell him. And his dad walks in and is like, "It's time for dinner, son." So he like in a flurry drives her home. They're both being so awkward and so uncomfortable. And not that she doesn't tell him. She can't. It's too uncomfortable.
No, they agree that neither of them wanted to kiss in the car, and he writes something in I think Mandarin. I thought it was
Yeah.
Cantonese, but I think it's Mandarin. And he's like, "Here, you go translate that." And she's like, "I can't even speak this yet, let
Yeah, like
alone
how am I
read
she's like,
it."
I can't type this into Google. Like, what are you doing? But cute thing here is the next time she sees Toby, he's like, I'm gonna plan the next date. It's gonna be a little like consolation of like all of the things I've learned on our little dates together. So very, very cute. Something to look forward to.
Yes, so they are going to go on that date on Monday. First, they have to go to the 4th of July Frisbee ordeal that Nicole
Frisbee
has
ordeal.
they gotta have a side project of a frisbee ordeal. Nicole has told Toby, oh my god, drama, that Catie at the party told her or indicated to her that she is single. Toby's kind of piecing together Catie used him for free Mandarin and essentially lied about having a boyfriend.
But can Toby be mad because it was his idea?
I think I would be like,
I'd be
you
a
know
little
what?
peeved.
I think I would first be like, can we kiss? I don't even know if I'd have those morals and ethics at 17, though. I
Yeah,
might have tried to kiss anyways.
so Toby and Catie are going to take a little brief break from each other because that's a lot to take in. Nicole apparently has asked Toby out, so Katie's like, ay, 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 this all went down really, really fast. More things are happening and changing very quickly because mom's already found an apartment and the Taylor's home is getting fumigated. So they're going to go stay at a hotel for a week and then move again. So that's a lot.
Oh, plus Rayleigh's a lesbian now.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot happening.
Drop. That's why we learned that Rayleigh's being so suspicious is because she's gay.
I was suspicious like that too, probably.
And Catie is a really good mom. She's going to kind of confide in her mom about like, I want to quit my job because now things are awkward with this boy I like. But Katie's just going to try and avoid him at work instead.
Exactly. So at work, I mean, it's pretty weird. Toby asks if they can talk about her workplace etiquette, which is kind of hilarious because the clients are finding her rude because she's so standoffish.
I would cry if that happened to me.
Exactly. And Nicole shows up, oh god, like another bullet to the chest, greets Toby in such a coupley way that Katie's like, I have got to write my 2 weeks notice. And in it, she does admit that she has feelings for Toby. She does leave it up on her computer at work, which is such a Meg move. Are you kidding me? That's literally how not writing but I did get fired because I left my Slack up.
Oops.
And I should talk everyone. Anyways, this isn't about me. She does go home, comes clean to her mom about everything. Her mom is like, you know what, you gotta attack life with a renewed vigor. So she goes to this genealogy office She posts that she'd like to connect with her uncles, maybe learn some more about her parents. And then the next day at work, Toby's being weird again. What is
Toby's
up with this guy?
being weird. And it's important to note that she does not turn in her 2 weeks note. She just like vents in it and then like deletes
Yeah,
it all.
she doesn't get
But
fired like Meg.
when she gets back from Toby being weird at work, everybody's being weird back at the hotel. Like Mavis is being weird, Rayleigh's being weird, Mom's being weird, everyone's being weird. They're gonna go swimming and they're like, but wear your cute pink dress. And she's like, to go downstairs to swim? What?
Just looking
And she
out
goes
for
down
her.
to the lobby and there's a cute little letter down there from a cute little guy named Toby. And now we have all hands on decks because Alex is going to drive Catie to this really cute date that Toby has planned. And we learned that he found her 2 weeks letter before she deleted it. And he likes
Mhm.
her too.
He's like, let's make it official. He does explain that in the letter that he wrote in Mandarin that he wanted to kiss her, but she had a boyfriend. And then we kind of end on cutting forward a bit where they are moving in to the new place on the University of Utah's campus for her mom's new job. Rayleigh will have her own room if she wants to come visit.
Okay.
And her uncles want to connect with her. They sent a few baby photos of Catie growing up. And Toby's there unpacking with her, and everything's
Speed
good.
run. Speed run. We did it. Speed run. Obviously, Meggie and I did a speed run and it doesn't do the cuteness of this book justice at every twist and turn. We highly
I
recommend reading it.
know. Please
But
do.
stick around because we're about to sit down with the author, Stefany Valentine, and learn a little bit more about how she approached the book, why she wrote it, what her writing process was like, and just who she is all around.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you in like 2 seconds, I guess.
And we are coming off the wrap up of First Love Language. We actually have the author here with us, Stefany Valentine. Stefany, hello. Welcome to Y'all We Read It. Thank you so
Hi.
much for joining us.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, no, we're so excited to have you on, and with your last name just in time for Valentine's Day. So really
Yes.
serendipitous, if you ask us.
I love it. I'm a big Valentine's Day fan. I painted my nails today for Valentine's Day.
Let's
So,
go. Yes. I feel like
yes.
if you are a fan of like cheesy rom-com-y stuff, Valentine's Day is your holiday. It's so like
Yes.
campy with all the like obnoxious hearts and everything everywhere. Like it's just one of those like just in your face kind of holidays and I love it. I love that about
Right.
Oh my
Valentine's.
gosh. Yeah. No, I'm a big Valentine's Day fan. I'm all for love. And I think that obviously this is like a great book to be talking about around Valentine's Day because
Heck
it's
yeah.
a romance story. Have you always wanted to like write romance stories or what kind of got you into that?
You know what's so crazy is like, Valentine is my maiden name. It's technically Ramirez now, but like I
Mhm.
am still a Valentine. I come from the Valentine family and everything. And so, yeah, you would think that with a last name like that, Valentine would like growing up every Valentine's Day, my mom would like make like red velvet crepes and like cut fruit in the shape of hearts. And like, I kid you not, like, okay, so there was 8 of us, right? And so growing up, we had a giant like van with like hearts on the side of it. I kid you not, I'm not making this stuff up. But like that was
Stop.
the
That's so cute.
Valentine. That was the Valentine vehicle, man. Yeah, so yeah, pretty iconic. But like so I don't know, maybe it was the fact that like I grew up with a little too much of that stuff. So
Mm.
initially when I started writing it was like sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah.
And but I had written 7 novels before I finally got picked up for First Love Language. So
Wow.
10 years in the query
Whoa.
trenches, yes, writing sci-fi fantasy, but it wasn't very good. So the first time I dipped my toes into contemporary was finally like, oh, I'm actually kind of good at this. And yeah, so maybe it was just meant to be. Maybe my name had a little something to do with it. Maybe it was like foreordained. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting too that you have like a fantasy background because I think there is like an element of
Yeah.
world building to First Love Language that you really mesh you kind of
Hmm.
like flesh out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, especially like Utah. Like I feel like you captured
Hmm.
what I could imagine Utah to be. I've never been there.
Me
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
Mhm.
But
But
yeah,
it felt believable. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. My family lives in Utah now. Like we grew up in Texas, but they all like moved up to
Yeah.
Utah. So yes, it is in a sense kind of my home
Yeah.
now.
Near and dear.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
absolutely. And like we also grew up very Mormon and everything, so I still feel very like Mormon
Mm.
adjacent to everything. I personally don't practice myself, but my family still does. and technically my records are still with the church. So in a sense, I guess I'm still a member, but
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
practice.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to. I'm going to start here with this next question because I
Hmm.
think I'll speak for both Maggie and I. We love talking about love languages, just both on this podcast and separately
Yeah.
in our personal lives. And I thought it
Hmm.
was really interesting that you brought that into an actual plot for a YA book. So I would love to hear the inspiration to fully just include that principle and tenement list into a plot.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up like reading about the love languages, obviously. So, a little backstory about the love languages: they were kind of created by this guy named Gary Chapman, and he's
Hmm.
Hmm.
like a counselor, but he's like a Christian counselor and everything. And so, like a lot of, if you've actually read like the five love languages, it's a bit problematic. It's outdated. It's misogynistic. It's homophobic. Yeah, it's got its issues and
Yeah.
everything. Which is why I really like that I kind of like integrated some of the like religious elements to it too, like
Hmm.
just kind of showcasing like, okay, she comes from this religious background. The first or the love languages themselves come from a religious background. She is distancing herself from that, but in addition to kind of like still embracing the cultural aspect of what the love languages have become.
Hmm.
So because I think like it has become so pop culture that people are just like,
Yeah.
oh, making food is my
Mhm.
love language, when really it's not even one of the five love languages, but like it's just become so pop culture to like say like sharing animal memes with my bestie, that's my love language or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I do love that like there's kind of this play on language with like the love language dates and then the Mandarin lessons as well. So I really love that. Initially the plot was just going to be about Catie learning Mandarin, but I was like, no,
Mhm.
it needs a little something else to it. So I was like, you know what, play on love languages, Mandarin lessons, like, and then like an exploration of language as well, like what's spoken physically or like verbally, like the various ways in which we communicate or miscommunicate.
Mm.
I really wanted to kind of explore all of that in first love language.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's so because obviously like this is paralleled against not
Mhm.
the five languages, but it also talks about like the five tones of Mandarin, which I
Yeah.
thought was
Yeah.
really fascinating too, because like in young adult books, typically they can be so fanatical and so big that
Yeah.
like you also kind of took this as like a
Mhm.
learning opportunity. Like I didn't know that they had like simplified like the
Yeah.
Chinese language for like
Mhm.
literacy tests. So
Mhm.
did you like kind of want to like tie in like I think you're like your Taiwanese like heritage into this
Mhm.
too, to kind of like let readers into like learning that
Yeah.
side of things as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, because like this is kind of like it is a work of fiction, but it's highly inspired by like my own upbringing. And so
Mhm.
originally, like my first language was Mandarin, and then I lost it due to like coming to America and everything, and kind of like being thrown into the American education system and all of that. And so like as Katie's kind of like relearning Mandarin, like it was kind of a reflection of me when I was relearning Mandarin, and like there's so much to it because like so like for me personally, like when I was learning or when I was learning English, I feel like I learned English by listening to it. So when you like take letters and you say, okay, this letter has a sound, and this sound makes this word or whatever, it was kind of hard for me to fully grasp things like that. So, but it was
Hmm.
also interesting to see how like in like Mandarin, you take like the Hanzi, which is the character, like the Chinese character, and
Hmm.
like that has a sound, and that sound has a meaning and everything depending on like what tone you put to it. So it was like a good way to kind of, well, at least for me, I just wanted to really explore the various like layers and levels because there's so much to language, really.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
even when I kind of went into writing this book, like I really was also kind of like discovering language in general, like what language really even means, because like half of
Mm.
like when you think of language you think of spoken things, but like there's so much more to it, and there's like various ways to express like meaning, and that all dials back to language.
Hmm.
Yeah. Language is truly, I mean, they say that it's like, what is it? The pen is the sword or whatever? The mighty
Yeah,
sword?
right,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, big time for first love language for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. I want to talk about the characters in the book.
Mhm.
I was so impressed by the juggling of so many different characters that all play very specific roles
Mhm.
in this book. And even though we're spending more time with some characters than other,
Mhm.
we really get an explicit point of view of how each relationship is and the whole
Mm.
dynamic. Like I'm thinking of Catie and her uncle, where we really only see Uncle Nick for a moment, truly with
Yeah.
the candles, or
Mhm.
even how we just have the fleeting moments between Catie and Mavis, and we
Mhm.
know how strong their connection is, even based on these nonverbal situations that they have.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I really want to hear about how you go about mapping out
Mhm.
all of these different characters that really do come through on the page, and also how
Yeah.
you write these different styles of relationships.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, thank you so much for asking because like for just about every single character, like I pulled from like real experiences.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why like Uncle Nick and Aunt Joanna feel so real is because like I said I do come from a Mormon background and so and a couple of like ex-Mormons have also like read First Love Language as well and they've told me like, "Oh my god, like Aunt Joanna and Uncle Nick, like I've been there. I've done that." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
because they were pulled from real experiences that I have had." And Mavis as well pulled from like my relationships with my own siblings. Like it's a little bit estranged, and I feel that like I kind of have a little bit of an estranged relationship with my own siblings.
Mm.
Rayleigh, with her good intentions and everything, again I pulled from like my actual cousins and everything. I would say that like Toby and Katie's mom
Mm.
are probably two characters that I kind of had to make up. Toby was basically like, if I asked myself, like, okay, well, who would I be in love with if I was 17? And I just kind of
Yeah.
ran with that. And then for Katie's mom, I was kind of because for me, I am adopted, and I feel like my relationship to my mother, like I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with like my adoptive mom and everything, but like there was like a learning curve and like a rough patch and everything. So like I didn't want to like have that character, or that character wouldn't have made sense for the story if I had written it, exactly like how I see my mom. So it was just kind of like, who's the mother I kind of wish I had if it was like if I was 17. And like I don't mean to say like I'm not trying to dunk on like my own mother, but I
Yeah.
just want to show like how complicated being an adoptee is,
Mhm.
especially because in Katie's narrative, as she is talking to her mom, it's kind of like this, I don't want to upset you. Like, I love you and I appreciate you, mom, but
Mhm.
like, I also love my biological mom and I have questions that I want to ask her. And it's not that like she's more important than you or anything. It's just that these two things exist in the same space. And I really wanted to really highlight that because I think adoption, I think a lot of the time too, we've been kind of conditioned into thinking that like something is either a good thing or a bad thing. Adoption is really
Mm.
complicated because like it intersects in many ways. Like I do have a healthy relationship with like my family now, despite all of my adoption trauma and everything. But that also does not negate the reality of the fact that like I lost my language, I lost my culture, I grew up with a lot of trauma, that my own birth certificate was rewritten against my will.
Mhm.
Things like that, like it
Yeah.
like yeah, great, like this is how complicated adoption is. And
Yeah.
I think maybe perhaps that is why like we are also seeing such a lack of adoptee like own voices in literature as well, especially in the space of fiction.
Mhm.
So like if you're an adoptee and you're listening to this, write your stories, we need them.
Yeah, I feel like did you read R.F. Kuang's Yellowface at all?
Hmm.
She writes about how there's like such a lack of representation across the
Hmm.
board and
Yeah.
in media, and that kind of reminded me
Yeah.
of that. I know that you've mentioned like a few times now how closely aligned this story
Hmm.
was with your own story, and
Yeah.
I think that I saw that you even were able to reconnect with your birth mom like with
Yes.
writing this. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
Can you
awesome.
Dude,
Yeah.
how
tell
did
me.
that
Okay.
happen?
Dude, I don't even know how it happened, man. But like, okay, so here's the thing: is like I genuinely thought my biological mom was dead. Like I even said like goodbye
Wow.
to her in a
Mhm.
way, like
Yeah.
in First Love Language, because I had written First Love Language before I realized my biological mom was still alive and everything.
Yeah.
And then New Year's Eve,
Mhm.
going into 2024, my sister-in-law calls me up and she's like, she's a Mormon, right? And she's like, dude, guess what? There's a Taiwanese Mormon in my ward and she knows your mom. And I was like, wait, what? Like, obviously started crying because I was like, wait, she was dead. Like a medium, like I had a medium tell
Wow.
me that like my biological mom was
Wow.
dead. Yeah. So like I just kind of let it go and everything. And
Yeah.
like if you ever try to do a bio family search, it's tough. It's
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
overwhelming. dead ends everywhere, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so for this to like have happened so easily, and like I didn't actually work for it, you know,
Yeah.
I sat with a lot of like I guess remorse in a sense, or like guilt, in
Mm-hmm.
the sense that like I have so many like other adoptee friends who are also searching for their biological families, and they
Mhm.
are like every single year looking and looking and looking, and then it's like, oh, another Christmas that I don't get to spend with my biological mom, or like, oh, here we
Mm-hmm.
go, another birthday where I don't get to
Mhm.
spend it with my biological family. Like it wears on you, and I
Yeah.
felt so guilty because like I did nothing, it just fell into my lap. So I mean, I don't know, like I don't know if like writing this book manifested something,
Yeah.
like if you're into that stuff, because like the coincidence is very suspicious, but
Y
yes.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, it's almost
would,
like when you stop looking for something, it shows up, like, right at your door, and you're like,
right,
"How? That's
Yeah.
absolutely insane." But I'm
yeah,
so happy that happened. That's such a
oh
cool
yeah,
experience, although I can imagine the
Yeah.
emotional roller coaster it must have been to, like, go through that.
Yeah,
yeah,
like the
very
catharsis
much,
of like writing through it and then processing the grief and
yeah.
then being pleasantly surprised.
Oh
Yeah.
To me,
my
that was
goodness.
overwhelming.
It really
Ugh.
was. Yeah. By being able to hug her last summer, like I was there for her birthday and everything, and we did this whole, my husband and I did a whole like cake, and we got her like presents and everything, and
Oh,
she cried and I cried, and she was like, this is the best birthday I've had in 25 years. And
That's so sweet.
that
yeah,
is
it
so
was,
sweet.
yeah, so looking forward to seeing her again. I really want to see her like at least once a year,
Yeah.
every year. And the dream
Oh,
is to eventually become like make enough money as an author that I don't need to work, so I can go to Taiwan
yeah.
and study Mandarin. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's the
we are
dream.
manifesting that for
Yes,
you.
Man,
absolutely.
thank you.
That's what
Yes,
we're doing in the new year.
please. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of manifesting, I think we have to
Mhm.
talk about Toby and his reminiscence of like a K-pop icon with his
Oh
purple
Yes.
yeah.
hair.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
yeah.
And Maggie and I felt like he really just resonates with just Gen Z being
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
very super into Korean culture, pop culture, that is.
Yeah.
So did
K-pop
you have a
and.
specific audience in mind for Toby? Or like what was your
Mhm.
influence for creating Toby as a character? Because I feel like he is
Yeah.
very unlike a lot of characters we see in YA, just period.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You know, and I've gotten that kind of feedback about Toby quite a bit, that he's like a very unconventional love interest.
Yeah.
And I do just want to say that like I was going through a bit of an identity crisis, not just like with my identity as an adoptee, as like an Asian diaspora and everything, but in terms of my sexuality as well, at the
Mhm.
time when I was writing First Love Language. And so when I was creating Toby, he's very like made for the bi gaze. Like
Yeah.
Yes. I was
yeah,
thinking that
Absolutely,
too.
yeah.
yeah, like he's very like, for me personally, like I was like, it took me a long time to realize like I'm bisexual. Like I didn't come out
Mhm.
until like about 27, and even then like I really struggled to say like, hey, I'm bisexual.
Mhm.
um but like yeah, so Toby is very like femme coded, I guess.
Mhm.
And that's what I find so attractive. And in like, in terms of my bisexuality, I'm very attracted to like men who are like, have no shame about their femininity, or like
Mhm.
they're more softer feminine side. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of who Toby is. Like he's very like bi-coded. And you know, like obviously with the purple hair, he's not afraid to like be outside of those gender norms as well, or like to look a certain way and everything. So yeah, it was very fun to kind of like write that. And then like I had a friend who's also bisexual, and she was like reading it, and she was like, oh my god, I love Toby so much. And I was like, I don't know why I'm so obsessed with him. And I was like, maybe it's because you're bi, just like me, girl. And she's like, oh my god, he was so written for the bi girlies. Yes.
He
So yeah,
really
I'm
was.
so glad that it came out.
I love it. And I think it's like really good too because I'd like to
Mhm.
think that we've come a lot farther, but
Yeah.
especially in like typical YA, it's
Mhm.
like the male protector, like the machismo vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
And it like further kind of breeds a little bit of internalized
I totally agree.
homophobia
Yeah.
because like
Yes.
women are like, I want my men like this and things like that. But it's like they
Right.
should also be able to exist outside the binary. They
I
should.
Yeah.
facts. Facts. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
No, it's so
Mhm.
refreshing to see, I think,
Mhm.
like, especially a YA romance that's not, like, dealing with just, like,
It's not
tropes all
toxic
the
at
time.
all.
It's not
Hmm.
enemies to lovers. It's not like, "Oh, he's super nerdy." It's not, "Oh, they're completely different cliques." It's like, no, there's a believable world that these 2 would be friends and fall in love, and
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
it was really, really just well done and very refreshing.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I like my mission, or I guess like there was a lot of self discovery when I was writing First Love
Yeah.
Language, like beyond. like race, religion, and sexuality, but like in terms of me as an artist. And I think one of the things that I awakened to while writing First Love Language was that like authenticity is my strength. Like I grew
Mhm.
up my entire life thinking I was such an outlier because like no one else was adopted, no one else was biracial, no one else had a mixed family, no one else had dealt with like parental loss at a young age and everything like that. And I felt that those things all hindered me. And then but I was able to channel all of that into this book, and like and it's a work of art. Like so yeah, I'm grateful that I was able to pull from my very real lived experiences to create like, you know, a work of fiction that feels believable. And
Mhm.
so, and it's been so interesting now that First Love Language has been out, and I've been getting like reviews and stuff, and people saying like it just feels like such a snapshot of life. And I'm like, well, it is a snapshot of my very real lived life. So thank you for validating that. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think it also really captures a lot of the feelings of like the teenage angst side, especially in like Mavis, where it's like you
Yeah.
constantly feel a little bit wronged and you can't see
Hmm.
outside of your perspective. Like clearly the mother is also being pulled
Hmm.
out of her community and
Yeah.
suffering a little bit too
Yeah.
in that isolation, which was
Hmm.
incredible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I like there's this like itty bitty like micro beat moment, I guess, where Katie's going to church or whatever, and her mom's like, hey, can you sit next to me? And Katie's like, no. But then she's also
Yeah.
like, wait a second, mom's probably feeling kind of lonely too. Like my parent feels loneliness, like kind of where she kind of has that beat. And it's like yeah, I really wanted, I really like that, like I kind of was able to like have even those like micro moments that overall add up to creating like multiple multi-dimensional side characters.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the small moments I think are, like it gives it such a moments of breadth in this piece too, because like even like the moment where like Mavis is like, oh, we started a group chat without you. It's just like
Yeah.
it
Oh
hits
my God,
so
that's
hard. I was
right.
like, oh, I've
Yeah.
been there and I know that feeling and it sucks. And it's
Yeah.
also like the choice to have Katie just move on from it because like
Mhm.
that's all you can really do rather than just like
Yeah.
sit in it. It was so
Yeah.
well done. Those tiny moments I really
Yeah.
applaud you on. I think those
Oh, thank
really just
you.
added
Yeah.
so much to like the reality.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
work as incredible foils to each other, where it's like here's
Mhm.
this one person who has really
Hmm.
gone through like quite a lot,
Hmm.
and I guess you know Mavis has also gone through the loss of her dad, but like not
Yeah.
like the complete isolation of
Yeah.
community, and
Mhm.
being like a little bit of the diaspora of kind of not feeling like you belong,
Hmm.
and so there's like
Yeah.
that tunnel vision on this
Yeah.
Mhm.
side, and
Hmm.
they worked really well competing against each other in this book.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah,
thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because like those
Yeah.
were like the things I kind of set out to do when I was writing this, was like really make these other characters believable. But also I
hmm
have to like shout out my incredible editor, because like this story would not have happened without her. Like the beautiful cover, the beautiful chapter headers, the incredible audiobook.
yep.
None of that would have been possible without my incredible editor, Elizabeth Lee. If you're listening to this, I freaking love you. You're incredible. You're so talented. Thank you so much for seeing the potential in First Love Language and giving me a shot. And so
Yeah,
proud of the baby we made.
I know you mentioned too that like you had a few books before this, and I'm sure that
Hmm.
this is not the first edition of this
Hmm.
manuscript.
Oh
So
no.
were there like
Oh
I know I'm sure I
Yeah.
can imagine. Were there
uh-huh.
like any parts of the book that you ultimately had to like let go of that you really were like, oh, I could have seen this in there?
Hmm.
Or, like any scenes are really hard to like edit or like cut in the
Yeah.
process?
So a couple of big changes. One of the first ones that I made was that initially Katie was dating Jimmy.
Mm.
And so
Ooh.
yeah, because I kind of liked that layer, but it also felt very like cheatery that she was like
Mm.
falling in love with
Yeah.
Toby
Mhm.
while having, yeah. So I didn't really like that aspect of it. But then also there was, you know, there was an additional, or like the I guess in the story, spoiler alert, but like in the story, when Katie goes on her quality time date,
Mhm.
it was initially a date where she goes to like an amusement park. There's this amusement park in the Utah Valley called like Lagoon, and so I just kind
Ooh.
of like pulled from that, where they go like swimming and they hit the roller coasters and all that. But it dragged and dragged and dragged, and so like we decided to cut all of that out, and then just
Mhm.
kind of like, you know, like mingle it a little bit, so that the movie theater scene becomes the quality time day,
Yeah.
because it is
Yeah.
kind of quality time to like sit there quietly just with someone and enjoy their presence and stuff a little
Yeah.
bit. So yeah, those are two of like the biggest changes, I guess. And then the ending, of course, like rewrote that over and over and over and over, sliced and added and sliced and added. And yeah, I was able to listen to the audiobook of First Love Language, and it was so nice to kind of like, even though I've like seen this book inside and out, it was so nice to kind of look at it or like hear it being told to me. And so yeah, the ending was, I surprised myself. Like, I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back or whatever, but I was like, damn, that was cute as fuck.
Oh,
Sorry,
it
I
was
curse.
so
I'm so
cute.
sorry if you
It
guys think
was no, and I was just gonna say after that is like a jumping off point. Like endings, I feel like are hard to write in no matter what you're writing, whether it be literature, poetry, film, anything.
yeah.
So I was wondering, was there anything that you were really toying with at the ending that you ultimately were like, okay, no, I need it to be cuter, or no, I need it to be a little bit more
Oh,
hard
yeah.
hitting or anything?
Like, I really wanted it to feel so like, okay, because it's a first love story, right?
Yeah.
And what I love most about first love is like how vulnerably awkward it can be. And
Yes.
so like when Toby and Catie are finally kissing, like it's both of their first kiss. Like, and I remember my first kiss. It was awkward. It was really, I was like, okay, this is weird. I don't even know if I even like kissing. Like it was a really weird experience to kiss someone.
Yeah.
And so in order for it to feel real to like the story, like I kind of wanted there to be that layer of awkwardness and like I don't really know if I'm doing this right. Like,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But like it's also so vulnerable to admit like I don't really know what I'm doing. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. First kisses. They make them look too easy in the movies.
That's
They
so
No one
they
true.
knows what they're
always
doing.
do. They really do.
They
I
really
like
do.
whenever I was like reading books growing up, I was like, is this their first kiss? Because like, why is it so good? Like my first kiss, like I haven't been kissed, but like I don't know, kisses
Yeah.
scare me.
I
Yeah.
think I was like pecking my high school boyfriend. I didn't even know like full blown making out could be a thing. I was like, that is way too
Right?
scary.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Um, this might be a really like random question, but it is
Mhm.
one I've been wondering this whole interview process. So
Mhm.
you said that you grew up a little bit, you grew up Mormon,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
Do
I
they
did.
actually have genealogy offices there?
Oh, yes. Okay, so thank you so
Interesting.
much for bringing that up because yes, so okay, in Mormonism they actually own like an entire company of genealogy, search engines, yada yada.
Wow.
And it's very important in Mormonism because in Mormonism you look up your ancestors and even though they're dead, you can still do like baptisms for them like
Mhm.
by proxy in the temple. So it's
Oh, that's
very
kind of
important, it's
nice.
very
Oh.
deeply rooted to the religion and everything. So yeah, so like so when Catie goes to the genealogy office, like yes, there are genealogy offices inside of Mormon church buildings. This one in particular, my mom did point out a little bit of a plot hole, and it was
Mm.
that like normally during sacrament meeting, a genealogy office would not be open. The
Oh, interesting.
library in the church would be open, but the genealogy office would not be open. But then someone else, another like Mormon who had read the book, she was like, well, the way that I saw it was that like there was just multiple wards going on
Mm.
in the church. So like, especially in like areas of like high Mormon population like Utah, you'll have one church building, but like everybody in this zip code goes at like 11 and then everybody in this zip code goes at 12 or whatever, so you have
Mm.
multiple groups of people funneling in
Huh.
and out of the church. So her thought was that like maybe it was open for the other ward or whatever for another.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, I guess it like I don't know, up to interpretation. But yes, to make a long story short, yes,
That is so
genealogy is a
interesting.
That's so
real thing.
interesting. Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of love that it's like you can do baptisms. It's like the same as like ofrendas, where it's
Oh,
Yeah.
kinda.
like
Yeah.
kind of like honoring your ancestors. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
It can be. Yeah. It's a whole shindig. Yeah. But yeah. But yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So like in the story when Katie's like talking about her genealogy, because like and she would go to church and do her activities and stuff, and
Mm.
um uh like I would like do the genealogy for myself, and I would always like try to look into the Taiwanese side of my family, and it was like, okay, well, like
Oh,
I don't even know how to spell my biological mom's name, like
Yeah.
so
yeah.
it was always like being hit with that dead end like right out the
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
gate. So yeah, and then when I was doing my bio family search and like actually trying to find my biological mom, of course, I used genealogy and everything, but dead end after dead end. So yeah, like being able to
Yeah.
kind of like give myself that creative space to be like, okay, but what if there was a genealogy like application that like really was catered specifically towards transracial adoptees? Like what would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where like the Pangenia thing comes from.
That's so
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I
very
I thought
cool.
that was such a fascinating element to like the book too, and I was
Mhm.
so curious if that was a thing because
Yeah.
ancestry is just so fascinating and so rich.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
one legacy that we continue to carry is our
Oh
family.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's really it can be really interesting. It can also be depending on like what your background is.
Depending,
It can
yep,
be it can be
it
really
can be a
interesting. You
little
can
bit like, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it can be like, oh wait, maybe my ancestors weren't on the right side of history.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's hit or miss. It depends, but like if you yeah. But
Yeah,
it
that's so
can be
true.
really fascinating to be like, no way, I'm related
Yeah.
to so and so, or like, no way, my roots go all the way back to here. What stuff like it can be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, I think we have just one final question, unless Maggie, you have anything else top
No,
of mind.
I think we covered quite a lot.
Hmm.
Okay, then I
Yeah.
think we'll end on that. We noticed in
Hmm.
our, because Maggie and I read these books cover to cover. We noticed on the back cover that you
Hmm.
have another book, Love Makes Mochi,
Oh
out
yeah.
with Joy Revolution next
Hmm.
February. So February
Yeah.
2026, not February 2025. So can you
Okay.
tell us a little bit more about what to expect with that venture?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Love Makes Mochi. It's okay, so I guess I can talk about it because technically it's been
As
announced,
much
but
as
the
you can.
full okay.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you're allowed to tell us, we
You can
won't hold it
censor
against
yourself
you.
too.
So Love Makes Mochi is the third book in the Love in Translation series. It's an IP, so intellectual property. This organization or company called Kate Creative Kitchen, Electric Postcard. They're the ones that came up with the idea, and they just hired me to write it and everything. So
Cool.
essentially,
Cool.
it's the third book in a series, and it's a series, but it's like think Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, where like each book in the series follows a different character, but they
Wow.
Oh,
just happen to
cool.
exist in the same universe.
Yeah.
So it's three characters. So the series itself is like three characters, and they go to various places. The first book is already out. Shout out to my friend Raven, Raven K. Stringfield.
Go Raven. We love you.
It's called Love Requires Chocolate, and it's set in France. So it's a grumpy sunshine. She's a type A theater nerd. He's a grumpy soccer player, and they go to the same school. She's there to like learn about French culture, French history. Oh, frick, I forgot the name of the character, but she's specifically there to learn about a black actress who like really was a mover and a shaker in
Yeah.
France and
Oh,
everything.
nice.
But yeah, it's very, very freaking cute. Like
It sounds
Raven,
really cute.
Love
dude,
France. Never been.
it's
Love to go.
so good. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
oh my goodness, this book is so freaking adorable. It is like the epitome of like cozy, curl your
Ugh,
toes, giggly
love.
rom-com.
Sweet.
Like dude, for real. I'm not just saying that because like Raven is my friend. I'm saying that because it's like an actual fact. Like it really is so good.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then the second book is written by Ashna, and it hasn't come out yet, but it does come out later this year, and it's called Love Craves Cardamom, and this one is set in India.
Wow.
And
Cool.
it's about a an artist, and oh wait, I don't know what I can say about it. Maybe
Okay.
I just won't say anything about her,
That's
but
okay. Yeah, you
It's
can
about
just
the
say that
artist.
that one's coming. That's
No more
fair.
yeah,
possibilities.
yeah. And then, like I said, my book is the third one, and it's about a fashionista who does a summer abroad
Oh,
in
I
Japan.
love
Yeah,
fun.
so she's like a goth fashionista. There's a lot of like qipao and
Amazing.
like hanfu and like hanbok and kimono and just like all sorts of traditional East Asian clothing. There's a scene where she goes to like a traditional silk farm, silk mill, and everything. Yeah, so it's about fashion, and it's sapphic, and I'm so excited to yeah,
Oh,
I'm so excited. Like
yeah. The
the
sapphics need a
relationship
win.
Yeah, I know. So it's very,
Let's
if
go.
you have read A Bond Me for Two, I would say it's kind of along the
Ooh.
vein of that. It's like very,
Mhm.
because it's not set in the US, it's a
Mhm.
sapphic kind of like study abroad, touring the country kind of story, but it's not dual POV like A Bond Me for Two.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And
Love
I think that's
it.
all I'll
Cool.
say about it.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
gosh, that's
We
so cool.
cannot
Yeah,
wait.
I know. I'm honored to
Love
be
it.
a part of the project, and I'm just excited for you guys to meet Lilin. That's the name of the character,
Ah.
and she has a very like Wednesday Addams kind of deadpan sort of
Ooh,
Right.
cynical
I
humor.
love it.
So yeah, I'm really I was it was it's been fun to channel that and to have that kind of like dark depressing
mhm.
energy bounce off of her love interest and everything and the chemistry that they have together because they're both kind of cynical, very dry, very sarcastic, and yeah, so I had a lot of fun writing their dynamic.
Oh,
I
that's so
love.
fun. We cannot wait for that. And then I guess if there's any other final thoughts that you have, any parting thoughts before we tell people where to keep up with you on social media, you
Yeah,
can let
well,
them
thank
out
you
now.
guys so much. Above all else, thank you guys so much for taking the time to read
Of
First Love
Of
Language.
Oh my
And
gosh, of
course.
course. Thank you for being here. This is
yeah,
so cool. We
Yeah, thank
love
you.
that we get to do this. This is so cool. We love talking about just the ins and outs of it. So thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Yes.
yay! Yeah, this was a total blast. Thank you guys.
Oh,
Awesome.
yes, we love that. And then in the meantime, if you want to let our listeners know where to keep up with you, you can plug your social media.
Yeah, so my name is Stephanie, Stefany. You probably won't find that name in a souvenir shop, but so all of my social media handles are at books by Stephanie, but it's not the PH Stephanie, it's the F Stephanie.
Mhm.
So yeah, Instagram is probably where I'm at the most these days. I'm still trying to branch out. I would like to eventually have a YouTube and everything, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
we love that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, and thank you, listeners. This has been our episode on First Love Language, and Maggie and I will be back with our next season later this month. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. All
Yeah,
right.
we will.
Bye,
Sounds
everyone.
good. Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.